Havana, 1959. On live radio, host Carlos Mendez attacks the new revolutionary government. Why should Cubans take orders from Che Guevara, an Argentine terrorist? What Che says in the next 10 minutes doesn't just defend his presence in Cuba, it becomes the speech that defines what it means to fight for someone else's freedom. The Batista regime has been overthrown. Fidel Castro is in power. The new Cuba is beginning to be built, but everything hasn't been clarified yet. The people are confused, suspicious, curious. This morning a special program is being prepared in Radio CMQ studio. Buenos dias, Havana, Havana's most popular morning show. Its host Carlos Mendez, 45 years old, experienced journalist, widely listened to man. Carlos Mendez is smart, intelligent, but also skeptical. He questions, criticizes the new revolutionary government, especially uncomfortable with foreign revolutionaries being in Cuba. This morning's guest is Che Guevara, 31 years old, industry minister, one of the heroes of the revolution, but also its most controversial figure, because he's not Cuban, he's Argentine. When Che enters the studio, he looks calm, green uniform, beret, beard. His iconic appearance, Carlos Mendez greets him, they shake hands, go to the microphones. Buenos dias, oyentes, says Carlos Mendez. Today our special guest is Comandante Ernesto Che Guevara. Che approaches the microphone. Buenos dias a todos los cubanos. The first 5 minutes go normally. Carlos asks questions. How did the revolution succeed? What are future plans? How will the economy progress? Che answers, explains, tells, but Carlos Mendez is saving his real question. In the 6th minute, the bomb comes. Carlos changes his voice, more serious, more aggressive. Comandante Guevara, I need to ask a question. Sure, ask. What business do you have here? Che is surprised. What do you mean? I mean, you're not Cuban, you're Argentine. Why are you in Cuba? I came for the revolution. I fought for the Cuban people's freedom. Carlos gets harsher, but nobody invited you. You came on your own. Isn't this invasion? No, this is solidarity. Solidarity. Carlos raises his voice. Or imperialism. This question is very harsh, and 500,000 people are listening live. Che tries to stay calm. Carlos, I'm not an imperialist. I'm anti-imperialist. Then why is an Argentine telling Cubans what to do? Who are you to do that? This question creates a bomb effect on the radio. Listeners start calling, discussing the topic. Carlos brings his microphone close to his mouth. Comandante, I'm going to ask you a direct question, and the listeners will hear. Ask, why should Cubans take orders from you? Who do you think you are? You're a foreigner. You're an Argentine terrorist who came to Cuba. These words ring in the air. Argentine terrorist. The studio falls into silence. Technical staff are shocked, waiting for Che's reaction. Carlos Mendez smiles, knowing he asked a very harsh question. Che is silent for 10 seconds, thinking, this is a very important moment. 500,000 Cubans are listening. What he says will write history. And then Che starts speaking, calm, clear, emotional. Carlos, you called me terrorist. Did you think before using this word? I did. So what does terrorist mean? Carlos pauses. Terrorist, someone who uses violence. Did I use violence while making the revolution? Against whom did I use violence? Carlos can't answer. Che continues. Did I use violence against the people or against those who oppress the people? Against those who oppress the people. Then I should be considered not a terrorist, but a liberator. This logic corners Carlos. Che continues. Carlos, you called me foreigner, but is foreignness measured by geography or by heart? What do you mean? I mean I wasn't born on Cuban soil, but I gave birth to Cuba in my heart. This sentence affects the listeners. Carlos, let me ask you something. What's required to be Cuban? Being born in Cuba? Only that? So what about people who were born in Cuba but don't love Cuba? They're also Cuban. Then being Cuban isn't just where you're born, it's where you love. Carlos thinks. Che plays his strongest card. Carlos, I'm ready to die for Cuba. Are you ready to die for your country? This question creates a bomb effect. Carlos can't answer. Carlos, I fought in Sierra Maestra for 3 years. My Cuban comrades were killed. I could have died too. Why? Why? Because I love Cuba. I love the Cuban people. I want Cuba's freedom. But you're not Cuban. And here come Che's famous words. Carlos, you're right. I wasn't born in Cuba, but Cuba was born in my heart. You're right. I'm not Cuban, but I am Cuban. Because being Cuban isn't just a passport matter. Being Cuban is a matter of loving justice. Electric shock effect in the studio. Carlos, you ask me why am I here? Because I want to be wherever there's injustice. There was injustice in Cuba. I came, but nobody invited you. No, Carlos, someone invited me. Who? My conscience. My conscience invited me. This answer mesmerizes the listeners. Carlos, you ask who am I? I'm a revolutionary, and revolutionaries know no borders. How do they know no borders? Because injustice has no borders, so we shouldn't have borders either. Carlos tries to attack from another angle. So what right do you have to give orders to Cubans? I don't give orders to anyone, Carlos. I make suggestions. And if the Cuban people don't like my suggestions, I'll leave. Would you really leave? Of course I'd leave. I didn't come to Cuba by force. I won't stay by force either. Then why don't you leave? Because the Cuban people want me. Because I serve them. Carlos makes his final move. Didn't you come to Cuba to bring communism? Che smiles. Carlos, I came to Cuba to bring justice. If you call justice communism, then yes, I brought it. Justice. Every child going to school is justice. Every patient getting treatment is justice. Every worker receiving fair wages is justice. Carlos can't answer. Che continues. Carlos, let me ask you something. Do you know what condition poor children were in before the Cuban Revolution? I know. How is their condition now? Better. Then I must have been useful to Cuba. Carlos remains silent. Che says his final words. Carlos, and dear listeners, I make you a promise. I'll stay in Cuba as long as I'm useful to Cuba. The day I'm not useful to Cuba, I'll leave myself. Because I love Cuba, I won't harm Cuba. The program ends. But Carlos Mendez is very impressed. Comandante, thank you. You gave very honest answers. I thank you, Carlos, because you asked difficult questions, and difficult questions reveal truths. After the program ends, dozens of calls come to the radio station. Cubans support Che. This man really loves us. This man fought for us. This man has become Cuban. Evening newspapers publish headlines. Che Guevara won hearts. The next day, Carlos Mendez apologizes on radio. Yesterday I asked Comandante Guevara very harsh questions, but his answers impressed me very much. I understood that being Cuban isn't just about where you come from. It's about what you love. 1 year later, Carlos Mendez interviews Che again, this time friendly, respectful. Comandante, 1 year ago I called you terrorist. What can I call you now? Che smiles. Now you can call me Cuban. When Che died in 1967, Carlos Mendez made a special program on radio. Today a Cuban died. Che Guevara wasn't born in Cuba, but he lived in Cuba. He died for Cuba. This makes him one of us. So I ask you, in which matters do you receive foreigner treatment? And how can you prove your identity to these prejudiced people? Maybe at a new workplace, maybe in a different city, maybe in a different social circle, maybe with different political views. Che Guevara in 1959 on radio didn't just respond to accusations. He showed that belonging is a matter of love, not geography. To which communities do you belong with your heart, but are a foreigner on paper? And how can you prove this heart connection? Because real citizenship is measured not by where you were born, but by what you love.